Let's first define what is summary. A summary is a brief statement or account of the main points of something. And that's exactly what you have to do, identifying the main relevant points and write them in your own words in an organized manner. If we are to take a look for an example of a question that follows, and the question, it goes like this: read the article about a person who survived a shipwreck. Write a summary about what he did to survive. So this is a typical exam question where you are asked to write a summary specifically on what he did to survive. So you'll be given a passage, and on that passage you are expected to write a summary. So in this example, the passage is all about a shipwreck. And in that passage, you are supposed to summarize it, writing about what he did to survive. And your summary should be about 80 words long and no more than 100 words long. This is for people who are doing extended. For those who are doing extended, normally it's 80 words up to 100 words. And you should use your own words as far as possible. So we are going to learn on how to do it. We are going to learn on how you can use your own words, and you are also going to learn how to write a proper summary. Right, tip number one on when you are writing your own summary: read the question properly. That's tip number one. So you must read the question properly. What do we mean there? We are saying when you are reading the question, you must underline the key words in the question on what the summary should focus on. So you must make sure that you understand those key words and you underline those key words in the question, so that you'll be able to know what exactly is the question asking you to do. So you must look at the question again, read the article about a person who survived the shipwreck, write the summary about what he did to survive. So this was our question about the shipwreck, and we are asked to write a summary about what he did to survive. So the key word there that we need to focus on is what he did to survive, which are underlined in red there. So that's the guiding words on how we are going to write our summary in this case. So what it means is that in this example, we are going to write a summary on what he did to survive. So we need to take a look at the passage. We must take a look at the passage. But firstly, you need to know that core students, you are expected to write summary in note form. Meaning to say, all those students who are doing core, you are expected to bring out your points in note form. So in this example, you are expected to identify points about what he did to survive. You are only asked to write points on what he did to survive. As for the extended students, you are expected to write summary by joining the points and using your own words. So core students, you identify the points, but extended students, you then write a summary by joining the points and using your own words. New curriculum students, you are expected to write only the points about what he did to survive. So new curriculum students, the demand of the question is the same like the core students at grade 12. Tip number 2, read the passage. After you have understood how and what the question is asking you to do. The second thing you need to do is to read the passage. So as you read the passage, the points that you need to include in your summary that are relevant and important to the question, you need to underline them. So you need to underline those points that are important and that are needed for you to write the summary. Let's take a look at the example. This is the passage. So remember, the question is asking us to write a passage, to write a summary concerning this passage on how he survived. So as we are going to read this passage, we are going to read underlining every point that we are going to come across. Right. Now, let's read the passage. A Chinese man is famous for being the longest shipwreck survivor. He spent 133 days in the sea. When his ship went down in the South Atlantic after leaving Cape Town, it took just 2 minutes for the ship to sink, and the only man who managed to survive was Pon Lim. Despite the mad chaos of the sinking, exploding ship, Lim was still able to grab a life jacket, which was vital as he had never learned to swim well. There you can already see that in this passage about the shipwreck, the man Pon Lim, what he did to survive now was that he grabbed a life jacket. So I'll underline that sentence, grab a life jacket. Right, so there I have underlined my first point. Then I move on to identify the next point. He floated in the ocean for what he estimated to be around 2 hours until he spotted one of the ship's life rafts. So there you can see also there are other points on how he managed to survive. So number one there, he floated in the ocean. That's how he survived. He floated in the ocean. So the floating part becomes part of our summary. Secondly, he spotted one of the ship's life rafts. So it becomes another way he managed to survive in the ocean. It was a wooden raft, about 2.5 meters square, partially covered by a canvas roof. After much effort, Lim succeeded in reaching it, and although weak, managed to pull himself aboard. Luckily for Lim, on the life raft, there were some bottles of juice and tins of biscuits, together with 2 flares, a flashlight, and even some chocolate. So another point there is that he managed to pull himself aboard. Right. And then another point there is that some bottles of juice and tins of biscuits were there on the life raft. So that's how he survived, because he was eating those juice and tins of biscuits. Once Lim realized that his emergency provisions were running out, he knew that he had to invent ways to find food and water. He used the canvas from the roof and his life jacket to make a container to catch rain water. So there you can also see that there's also another point there. 2 flares, a flashlight, and even some chocolate. And also there is, he invent ways to find food and water. That's another point. And another point is that he make a container to catch rain. So making a container to catch rain is another point there on how he managed to survive. He had never been fishing and he had no skills to help him, but he improvised by making a fish hook out of the wire from the flashlight and the jagged edges of the biscuit tins. So another way he managed to survive is that he made a fishing hook. Right. By day 60, he was aware that he was losing physical strength, so he began to swim around the life raft twice a day. So he swam around the life raft twice a day. That's how he also managed to survive. This routine continued until a particularly bad storm nearly destroyed his life raft. Against all the odds, he survived and was able to repair the damage. However, this experience left him feeling even more terrified about this situation. So another way he managed to survive was that he repaired the damage. Liam had never seen such a variety of beautiful sea creatures and spent many hours observing the fish that swam around him. However, he was alarmed by threatening sharks that at times surrounded his life raft and occasionally attacked him. Liam survived for almost 5 months. On 2 occasions, he spotted a ship and once a plane passed by near him, but each time his shouts and frantic waving went unnoticed. The nightmare only came to an end when he was picked up by Brazilian fishermen on 5 April 1943, about 10 miles from the land. They sailed to Belém, Brazil, a town at the mouth of Amazon River. Upon arriving in Belém, suffering from severe sunburn, he spent 4 weeks at the local hospital to recover and regain his physical fitness. He explained to people that he had worked hard not to lose a sense of hope, that he would finally be rescued. Liam went on to live to the age of 72, and even now, 133 days remaining, the longest time for one person to survive being lost at sea in a life raft. When he was told about this record, Liam said, "I hope no one will ever have to break it." So those are the points that show how he managed to survive the shipwreck. And those are the points that we want for us to write a proper summary. Now, for course students, like we said before, you need to write down all the points you identified. So you need to write them as follows. So all those points that you have underlined, they will be arranged and be written just the way you see on your screen. So course students, you are just expected to identify the points and just list them in this manner, all the points you have identified. Extended students. For extended students, your summary is all about joining the points, and you need to join the points using your own words. And remember, a summary should be 1 paragraph, and your paragraph should contain the following: an introductory sentencing. So when you are writing your summary, the first sentence must be an introductory sentencing. And this introductory sentence tells the examiner what you are writing a summary on. And you need to keep it short. Remember, the introductory sentence is not to say that you have to put an introduction heading. but it's a sentence which is part of your summary, where you tell the examiner what you are writing a summary on. So if you were to take a look at the example that about the shipwreck, your introductory sentence could look like this. Ponlin, a shipwreck victim, managed to survive an outstanding 133 days on an island all alone. That's an example of an introductory sentence. And it shows clearly that you are talking about a person who survived a shipwreck. So write your summary, bring out your points in orderly manner. Use connectivities. Lots of them. You need to use a lot of connectivities. So connectivities, these are words that are used to join sentences. You can use connectivities like firstly, secondly, thirdly, in addition, also, furthermore, consequently, as a result. Those are typical examples of connectivities. Use your own words. Use synonyms of word in the passage if possible. Remember, in this summary, you are expected to use your own words. So the best way to do that is to make use of synonyms. If you are to take a look at the example, at the point, at one of the points, which reads, invented ways to find food and water. So if you want to change that sentence which says invented ways to find food and water, for you to change this sentence, you need to look for synonyms. Invented ways. Another word we can use to write about invented ways. The synonym there can be came up with. Ways, it's a system. So invented ways came up with a system to find food. Instead of saying to find, you then say to obtain food and water. So you can see your sentence is now in your own words and looking different, but the main point is maintained. And that's what we are looking for extended students, the ability to write in your own words and yet maintaining the key points. You don't have to write a conclusion in a summary. You need to remember that. No conclusions on summaries. And also stick to the word limit. Your word limit is normally 80 to 100 words. So make sure your summary is having 80 to 100 words. Now, give it a try to write the following summary. I'm going to give you a typical exam question and see if you can manage to write a summary about it. This is a typical question, a 2016 question paper, where you were asked to write a summary. And the question looks like this. Read the article below, and then on the opposite page, write notes of the causes of stress and how to cope with it. So here you are expected to write a summary. And remember, for core students, you are only going to identify the points. But for extended students, you are going to join those points and write up a paragraph. So what I'm expecting you to do, I'm expecting you to read this passage and then you write the summary. And the question to that, you are expected to come up with causes of stress and also coping with stress. So for core students, we're expecting you to write about the causes of stress and also the coping with stress. So you need to read this passage and write the summary. So like we said, course students, you read the article and then write notes on the causes of stress and how to cope with it. So remember the keywords there is causes of stress, and another keyword is how to cope with it. So you are looking for points that talk about causes of stress and also for points that talk about how to cope with it. For extended students, remember your summary is 80 to 100 words in length. And you're also going to write about the causes of stress and how to cope with it. The key to English is practice. And practice makes perfect. So attempt the summary and then send me the answers. For further information, just contact me on 0818-506-486, or you can visit our website www.atkins.today. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you in our next lesson.